Hi, everyone. It's Mitch from PickDogs.com and SportsChatPlace.com, and it is Sunday, April 5th. I can tell you what, the only reason I know that is because I had to type it in to put the titles in for this show. I couldn't even tell you what day it is, man. But I know if all goes according to plan, only 25 more days of the lockdown here in Maui. So I'll be back on the golf course, man. And I'll tell you what, a lot of, this is one of those rare times where it's like, what's something that used to do, 20 years ago, before, life changed and now it's like all of a sudden you have time to do it again. And for me, it's practicing golf, man. It's like I've been playing golf. I had quit for a very long time, for 20 something years. And I started playing again. But one thing I don't have a lot of time to do is practice golf. I play a lot of golf, but I don't have time to just sit there and practice and practice and practice and practice. And in order to go from, breaking 80 to, flirting with breaking 70, you gotta practice, man. It's that 1-2 shots. I mean, you could shoot 84 and say, oh man, there are 5 shots I could have made to break 80. They're, it's the same thing, but breaking 80, from 81 to 79 seems to be 5 shots. It's like it might be look like that, but for me, it's practicing. I have a net in the yard, so I've been chipping one day, hitting balls the next day, and when I hit balls, I practice on clubs like short irons, mid irons, and fairway woods and drivers and stuff. So today is fairway wood day, so my neighbors are going to really be loving that one. It's definitely don't want to be shanking a 3-wood off the turf in my neighborhood. But so far so good. I hit one shank the other day, and it just it's going to happen if you hit 1,000 balls a day. So, you do it a few times a week. One is going to get away from you, and it's more lack of, I think I always wondered why I shanked, why that happens, and like anyone else, I'll hit a shank here, rarely, but I'll hit one. And it's an absolute lack of concentration is what I figured out. Is how it happens. It's generally.
Well, yeah, because you watch so many, right?
No, I think what happens
so
to me
many
is that what happens to me when I shank, it's consistent and it's always with the short iron. When I shank, it's always with a short iron, and it's usually chipping, believe it or not. And what happens to me is I decelerate on the downswing and I don't follow through, and it's like, so basically I'm not one of these guys that carry 10 wedges around in their bag. I just have one. So it's like I just carry one, and it's like when you have one, then you kind of have to turn it a little bit, to open the face and close the face, as opposed to having a 60 degree, a 56 degree, a 50, a 40, all these different wedges. I just have one, so it's like, if I decelerate, if I'm just around the green and I decelerate with the club face open and I stop, then basically it's hitting the ball with the club face like this at an angle. So it goes this way as opposed to being square at impact. See, if you follow through, then you're coming through in the ball. Anyways, so practicing golf has been my one thing. Chris, what have you been doing besides eating?
Wow.
Well, I've been eating too. I don't mean just you. Steve. No, Steve, how many extra calories do you think you're taking in a day over here?
Let's just say my nutrition hasn't been at an all-time great.
We're gonna come on here. We're gonna look like a bunch of 14-year-olds with like acne. That's what basically goes.
I'm gonna age 15 years in the next month.
We all know.
I always tell people I'm in peak physical condition, but that's to go to the 4th of July hot dog contest. So that's no, it's just been a lot of family time, trying to just check in on everybody. We've actually got family that's stuck over in Italy right now, so it's a nerving time. But we're just trying to make the best of it. A lot of Netflix, a lot of board game nights when I'm not writing, so we're keeping busy.
How about you, Rod? What have you been doing?
Keep busy. Same thing. I got a couple dogs, a couple puppies. They keep me busy. So take them for walks. Run out to the field here. There's nobody around. Nice and quiet. Talking with my nephew. My nephew's on day 2 of his isolation. He just got the test. No word back yet. He might have the virus. So
Why is
he's
it
in
just day
his
2? Where's he at?
well. Well, he's been in isolation at my sister's acreage, but he popped out with some friends, and now he's not feeling so good. So he went and he's got the test, and now he's just waiting for results.
How about
It
you,
takes
Steve?
3 days or something.
I mean, I'm getting bad news this past week. My nephew is 30. He actually a kid that was at our Christmas party, 30 years old, just got married, had a baby, and he went to the hospital this week and was sent home, and the kid died like 3 days ago. And then his mom actually just got it, and she passed away yesterday.
Oh,
So that's two brutal ones right there. And then a buddy of mine, he posted on Facebook. He showed me a picture of him at the hospital in Connecticut with a mask on. He's in the emergency room. And then another buddy of mine texted me his sister just got it. So, I'm in New Jersey, and it's, a hotbed, throughout the country. New York, New Jersey is one of the hotbeds. But, and I have another buddy who is fighting for his life. He's been in a coma for a week. So I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but, it's been impactful around here. So hopefully the bad news stops soon.
Yeah, it's so I know here, it's one of the least amount, so it's hard to really grasp it fully. We only see what we see in the news. New York up to 3,568 deaths. I believe here in Maui we've had 2. So, in the state of Hawaii, there's been 3. We have 349 total cases, and yesterday we only had an increase of 2. So the social distancing and all that stuff seems to be really working here. We also don't have widespread testing, so we're going to guess that there are people out there that have it. But we consider ourselves very, very fortunate. But yeah, that's terrible. So it seems like New York, New Jersey are really the hotbed places. Michigan, California, and Dempsey passing away from it. Louisiana seems to be hit pretty hard as well, at least for the amount of people that they have. Like, New York obviously is the most populated place and the highest concentration of people, so it'll make sense there. It doesn't help things. But anyways, change course, and we can only hope that things change sooner rather than later. But as we continue to hear this news, I'm a little less optimistic than I have been. Like I said it yesterday, and normally I'm the super optimist guy. I'm the guy who comes on at halftime when we're down by 25 points and still tries to find an angle on how we can salvage a win out of the game. But I don't see in this one. Originally, optimistically thinking mid-May and all that stuff, probably not going to happen
No,
at this point.
I can't see it happening at this point, like in mid-May. I just can't.
But it seems that there'll be some alternatives. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of President Trump's talk yesterday with all of the commissioners and stuff. And, those of you that posted your church ceremonies in our Facebook groups, you're permanently banned. We don't allow religion, politics, anything outside of sports and sports betting. Maybe some of these funny things, we've been a little bit more flexible recently because of the environment. But, and generally, if something is generally funny, and usually it will contain a sports fit person, we allow it. But a live church ceremony, I don't hear about it, man. About like, oh, I didn't know that you weren't allowed to do that. And it's like the rules are clearly posted, and that certainly is not okay in any way, shape, or form. So, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your religion and your beliefs or anything like that. You guys are free to, everyone is free to do whatever they want, and we certainly don't hold it against you or give you credit for it or anything one way or the other. But I'll tell you what, man, you're not gonna use our platform to share your religious and political beliefs. That ain't gonna happen, because that's not our purpose. But speaking about our purpose, we were gonna go over like NFL draft, defensive positions, and stuff like that. And we are getting closer to the draft, so we'll probably start next Saturday. Start with some, our own mock drafts. As things get closer, there will be still some trades out there that are going to happen and that are going to affect things. So we'll probably do an early mock draft next Saturday, and then another one the next Saturday. We'll just do mock draft Saturdays until the draft actually happens. Then we'll be with you live for the first round of the NFL draft, and hopefully it's a quick one. And we'll see if we're going to continue to stay with it. Guy in the bottom left. Are you alive? Look alive. So Truman Winningham is a big, what do you call it? He's a keyboard hero is what he is. He's a big talker, behind the keyboard, but let's see him sit in front of the camera and talk at all. Because he's a coward is what he is. We know that anyone that comes on to somebody else's show just to make negative comments, you're just a coward, man. You're nobody. What we're going to do is we're going to Google your Facebook page, and we're going to show your ugly kids on here. Is what we're going to do. We're going to rip them apart. We're going to see. We're going to see who the slob is. Okay, Truman. That's what we're going to do. We're going to show your family. We're going to show everybody. But anyways, speaking of families, so I decided that we're going to go with one of the best NFL games that you've ever seen. And I think this is one of those topics that's going to be subjective all the way. Usually it contains your favorite team, usually it's the result that you were looking for, though mine doesn't have that. But Steve, Cowboy fan,
I think I already know what your answer is, and I'm going with 1982 Miami Dolphins San Diego Chargers playoff game. I think that was, to me, it's the most wildest game. The yards involved, Don Strock throwing for 429 of 43, 403. Dan Fouts 33 of 53, 433. The Kellen Winslow 13 receptions, felt like death. The hook and lateral, Tony Nathan and great players in the game, Charlie Joyner and Chuck Muncie and on and on, And the comeback, by Miami in that game, and then ultimately they lost 41-38. But I was actually going to throw maybe the Super Bowl, the Rams and Titans up there.
Well, no, you got more than one, so we're just going to go.
All right, but I mean that's number one on my.
So I'm with you on I'm with you on the Dolphins, Chargers. Absolutely, I was at that game. It was 24-3, and the Chiefs Titans game this year, I believe it was. It was a similar score, and I said the same thing. It was about the same point in the game when it happened too, midway through the second quarter, and I said I was at a game that was this exact score at this exact point, and it didn't turn out exactly the way that the score looks now. And I was at that game, and I've been fortunate enough to be at some of the greatest games of all time, because they took place in the Orange Bowl Stadium. Some of them with the Dolphins and Hurricanes, and some of them, with other teams, just the Orange Bowl game or Super Bowls or whatever the case may be. So, I was fortunate in that respect. But that game was certainly a special one. The Dolphins didn't win the game. They certainly had their chances. But, I thought that that game kind of had everything. It had the blocked field goals. It had the catches. It had the comeback. It had the stories. And it had, the hook and lateral play, which I'd felt the Orange Bowl shake before. And I'd never felt it shake like that when right before the half, Duriel Harris, Tony Nathan on a hook and lateral that, sent the game tied at halftime to the locker room. And, as a Dolphin fan, a Hurricane fan, and someone that basically grew up in the Orange Bowl, and we talked about why we love sports and how we love sports and all that stuff the other day, when they took down the old Orange Bowl, no one was happy about it, right? I mean, the thing is like, we can't have the old Orange Bowl. We're going to build it. And the fact that they built the baseball stadium on the same site is horrific, right? I mean, that's just like the big slap in the face is that they couldn't, rebuild the Orange Bowl there. Instead, they built this baseball stadium that nobody goes to, right? But the one thing about the Orange Bowl that you have to remember is that, for those of us that loved it, because they didn't have replay screens. They didn't have, the stadium, the PA announcer was like, it was terrible. But you went there to watch the game, and I'll tell you, people there, that it wasn't, fashion show. It wasn't like, you weren't going to get sushi there. It was like you went there to watch the game, and they hit it once with a wrecking ball, and the whole thing fell to the ground. So that's, that's all I know is they hit it once, and the whole thing's wrong. So I know that it always felt like it was going to collapse. That's for sure. But I was at that game, and if you ever see that game on TV, where they always show greatest games, they'll show the highlights. Joe Rose catches a pass in the open end zone, and I'm standing right there with my three friends. We're all standing right in the corner of the end zone when Joe Rose catches the pass. You can see us on TV, clear as day. But Chris, how about you? What's the best NFL game you've ever seen?
For me, the one that sticks out the most for me is the 2010 NFC wildcard game. The Saints and the Seahawks of the beast mode game from Marshawn Lynch. Everyone remembers the run where he grabbed Tracy Porter and basically shoved him about 10 yards in front of him and then ran past him. But I think people forget that was still a pretty good game. 41-36. Drew Brees threw for over 400 yards. Marshawn Lynch ran for 130 and a touchdown. The touchdown obviously being the beast mode run, but that game sticks out for me just because I just remember being in a room full of Saints fans next to the guy wearing the Seahawks jersey and getting beers thrown, just getting red cups full of beer thrown at him as soon as Marshawn Lynch throws Tracy Porter to the side. And it was just a game that always sticks with me, at least.
How about you, Rod? What's on your list? We're going to go around a few times, so we got plenty of games here.
Game I remember the most that really sticks in my mind is Warren Moon, January 3rd, 1993 in Buffalo. Houston Oilers are up, 35-3?
I got that one on my list, too.
35-3, they're way up. Warren Moon, of course, ex-Eskimo. For me, I watched them growing up. I was all rooting for Houston. I wasn't a Buffalo fan. I live Western Canada. Buffalo? I hate Buffalo. So watching that game, and I'm going, no. Okay, it's only one touchdown. Oh, they're getting closer. Come on, don't choke this away. that was me screaming at the TV and hooting all.
How much of that one do you think was choking it away, and how much of it do you think was the Bills just really wanting it? Because the amazing thing is about the Bills team is that in that game, to me, they really wanted it. And it's like you had Frank Reich instead of Jim Kelly in the game, but you still had Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed and Bruce Smith. And I mean, this Bills team was stacked. I mean, they're stacked. They're all Hall of Famers, right, from that Bills team. But it's like, in a game like that, they really want it. And then, against the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, it's like 59-3 at halftime. It's like, which one is it? The Bills only came close, in one Super Bowl, and that's might be someone's on this list, but
Right. But he just kept telling them. He's like, "Hey, we're not dead yet. Let's go. Come on, one game, one play at a time. Let's keep going." I think if Kelly was in, I don't think they come back.
I mean, I've
I do.
seen, if we were in college games, greatest college games. I was at the other Frank Reich game, 41-3 when he came back against, in hindsight, a Miami team that gave up a ton of points that season in the last few games of the year. But that was the year of the Flutie game. But yeah, that one's definitely on my list. I'll come back around to me. I was going to say the Chargers, Dolphins, but I'll go to a more recent game, and most people know that I usually like the classic games, but I'll go to a more recent game, and I'll say the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl was really one of the better games you'll ever see. I certainly didn't like the result in that one. I did because I was in Vegas, and I bet the money line on the Patriots when they were down and down and down. But here's a game where, the Pats looked dead in the water, several times out, and then came marching back. Another game that kind of had it all. You saw two of the best catches you'll ever see in a football game. The Julian Edelman catch was ridiculous. And Julio Jones caught one on the sideline that was like Bill Belichick went to throw the flag, and he watched the replay on the screen, and you could see him just shake his head like, like, what the hell are you supposed to do on that thing, And I thought that was really one of the better games. I think that, when you see a back and forth game is always good. Last team with the ball, but I think the massive comeback so far has been the theme that we've seen here. That's predominant with the great games is, it ain't over till it's over. Steve, you got another one for us here? I know you mentioned Titans Rams.
Yeah, I was actually, so I was 7 years old, 1972. I was at my buddy David Driscoll's house. We was lying on the floor in front of the TV, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers, Oakland Raiders, watching it live. And I'm old, even at 7, I love football and I have a good memory. But I watched the Immaculate Reception live.
Yeah.
So Bradshaw drops back the pass. There's less than 30 seconds, right? Ball over the middle to Frenchie Fuqua. Jack Tatum comes in, clocks him. The ball disappears, and all of a sudden, Franco Harris out of nowhere scrambles and heads to the end zone. It was complete bedlam. To this day, controversy, right? Unlimited propels the Steelers, to the greatness that they had in the 70s. But watching that live, I got to tell you, that was that was something special.
So on that game for me, I was watching that game on in my room at my house on one of those little black and white televisions. I don't know. They all seemed like it only came in the 12-inch size, right? It was always this big. The screen was like this big, and the TV was like this big, right? And it's I had it in my bedroom and I watched it. I remember vividly because that was the year of the undefeated 72 Dolphins, and that was before the home field advantage. And that was before the days of the home field advantage, where the best team got the home field advantage. Miami was going on the road either way, and we did not want to go to Oakland. There was no way we wanted to go to Oakland, even though we were undefeated. And the next week was the week that a lot of Dolphin fans actually, at that point, when you talk to the old classic Dolphin fans, I run into them all the time. I run into fans of all the different teams, and in fact, that game with Chuck Muncie and the Chargers, I've told this story on here before, is that rumor has it Muncie scored a ton of blow in Miami that week, and that's why they got blown out the next week. that they totally partied like crazy.
Boomer, that's about.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't say it on the show if I didn't believe it to be. It makes perfect sense.
That's pretty damn close.
He's I met a guy at the MGM Sportsbook, and he's like, yeah, I was at that game too. He's like, Chuck Muncie scored 2 keys of blow, and they just played like crap the next week. He's like, they were all partied out. But and it made total sense, that he went to Miami and scored the blow. But
absolutely,
getting back to this, you know, watching those classic games on the black and white TVs, and you know, we got a lot of games here, and it's like for me, it's rare that a Pats Falcons will show up on this list, but you know, we got a lot more to go to. Chris, what's your next one?
Yeah, I definitely had Pats Falcons up there as well, but I'm going to go to another Patriots Super Bowl win. That's the Super Bowl win over the Seattle Seahawks. It was back and forth game. That was the Malcolm Butler interception at the end. That was New England was trailing 24-14 going into the fourth, and they scored with just over 2 minutes to go. And you just thought that, as a Patriots fan, I'm sitting there going, not again, because you see Seattle drive up the field, get down to the 2-yard line, and then Russell Wilson, why did you throw the ball? Just hand it off to Marshawn.
Well, I mean, because somebody else called that play. That's why he threw it.
No. That was the narrative of like the conversation,
of course,
of the people that I was sitting with. But it was just like that one always sticks out with me too. It's not because of the play call. It's just a hell of a game. It came down to that final drive, and someone was going to win, someone was going to lose, and thankfully New England won the game.
How about you, Rod? What's up next for you?
For me, one that I really remember, same year, 93, I won $680 because of the Leon kicking the field goal, and that Leon let and bumbling in the snow there in Dallas, and he kicked the ball right in the end zone, and Miami jumped
Thanksgiving Day.
Touchdown.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Again, another game I watched on the TV that was like one of those console TVs that had like the record player built into the TV. It was like this giant wood box. It's like, not only do I remember watching the game, I remember watching it on that TV. Yeah, that was a great one.
I cashed my parlay ticket. On the Thanksgiving Day because of that one. I know, because in Sports Select, a tie is considered 3 points or less. Dallas was up by 4, and I needed something. I'm like, I need a miracle. And, well, there it was. I'm like, what's he doing? Yeah, touch the ball. Get it. Fall on it. Yeah, get it.
Well,
one of those ones you get at the TV.
Well, to me, I'm going to come back to another rematch of the Bills and the Oilers. And really, it was this time they were the Tennessee Titans. Music City Miracle, really one of the great finishes of all time. Here's one that I don't care who you are, there's no way you saw this coming. And I think that's what made it special. They did kind of a squib kick, and, you know, here is, your tight end, receiving the kickoff, throws it across the field, and the guy runs it all the way for the touchdown and the win. It just, to me, it's like a lot of the game was probably, some back and forth action and not all that exciting. But for me, that one had the fantastic finish. And, sometimes that finish, when you go back and watch the game, the rest of the game doesn't live up to it. But this one actually was a pretty good game back and forth. And it was a game that could have gone either way. Steve, got another one for us?
Well, I got to bring up my boy back here, number 12, Mr. Storback, at some point here. So
it was the Alamo every Sunday.
I was 10 years old, 1975, and the Cowboys in the wild card game go to the Minnesota Vikings at Metropolitan Stadium, and that's the first term you heard of the Hail Mary. So, Roger, they call timeout. Drew Pearson heads down the right sideline against Nate Wright, was a defender for the Vikings. And Roger heaves it. And listen, to be objective here, Drew Pearson pushed off slightly where I could have seen a penalty and I wouldn't have been too, and try to be objective. But they didn't call it. Pearson scores the touchdown. Cowboys win with no time, basically. And the referee at the time was a guy named Armin Terzian. And Armin Terzian got nailed by a beer bottle, like literally, 30 seconds after that call, man.
And that was the last time you were
so
allowed.
for me, that was an exciting one, and I'm being a homer here as a Cowboy fan.
But that game changed sports in that you were no longer allowed to bring glass containers into stadium.
That's true. That's exactly right.
After that game. Chris, you got another one for us?
Yeah, I remember one that kind of sticks out. It's not a playoff game, but it's regular season. The first game back in the Superdome for the Saints after Hurricane Katrina. I remember it was against the Falcons. The Saints won 23-3, and I just remember sitting there and watching. It was just a Super Bowl atmosphere in the late September. It was just like you could tell that, what this game meant to that city, and I think it's what we're kind of looking for right now, sort of with all the uncertainty in the world. But you could see what the game meant to them, trying to getting back to football, getting back to some sort of sense of normalcy, and it's just that's one game that'll just always stick in my mind, just as the rainbow at the end of the storm.
Rod?
Another one I remember is New England losing in the Super Bowl. The Giants winning. The big helmet catch by Tyree, 3rd and 5, and he's all of a sudden he reaches over and he uses his helmet to hold the ball like this, and he comes down with it, and it's like, did he really catch that? Jeez. Battle, what a game.
Yep, that was that, and the thing is that was actually a great game. I know that play kind of, represents the whole game. But I have to say that the other Pats' recent loss, to me, was a better game than that one. And that was the Eagles and the Patriots. And I normally love defense, but this was an offensive show. This was the most yards passing, I believe, in an NFL game ever for both teams. Miracle catches by players that you just don't even see catch footballs, in a normal game. And it was just back and forth. And of course, the Philly special. It was just a piece of the puzzle, in that game. And just, the back and forth of both coaches just rolling the dice time and time again. And actually, Tom Brady dropping the pass, which was, a big part of that game.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at that game and, you look at a back and forth slugfest, in the last team with the ball type game, that was the ultimate of those games, and it was for the Super Bowl. And, I mean, when you see Clemens catch a ball like that in the end zone, it was like game on. It was like, and it's like this is the type of catch that, if Julio Jones catches in the end zone or, DeAndre Hopkins or someone like that, you're kind of like, it's a routine catch for those guys. But, when Clemens is catching this pass, Corey Clemens is catching these, it's like, this is serious business. It's like, who's going to stop who?
Yeah.
And the Eagles, of course, that year, underdogs in every playoff game and won the whole thing. So we'll go through one more time. Steve, anything else for us? I know there's so many good games. That's like I got them written down here.
Again, I got to stick with my Dallas Cowboys. So I gave you a positive for me, and now I'm going to give you my biggest negative. So the catch by Dwight Clark.
I got it on my list here.
Montana. Right? I mean, it was inevitable. I remember watching, in the fourth quarter. Danny White was the quarterback for the Cowboys. But you just felt the momentum. You felt this special thing, coming together with the Niners, right? And then once, Montana rolled right, Dwight Clark catching that ball. I was devastated, I think I was 15 maybe at that point. To me, that was my hardest Cowboy loss, I think. It was the toughest one for me. But I got to say, it was a great game, and it's an iconic game. And, obviously Joe Cool, is Joe Cool ever since. And unfortunately, Dwight Clark just passed away, I think, within the year. So it's pretty sad that he's gone. So I'll throw that game out there.
Chris?
Yeah, I think one of the first Monday Night Football games I watched with friends was 2000 Miami Dolphins against the Jets, where the Jets were down by 20 plus points. I think they were down by 23 going into the fourth. 30-7, they tied the game late in the fourth with a touchdown catch from a lineman. And
Jumbo Elliott.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Jumbo.
Maybe I can do that. Not the fleece to put the smallest kid in the world when I was 9 years old, but yeah, no, that, and then the Jets kicking the winner in overtime. That's just a game that stuck out with me from my childhood.
Rod, one more.
One more. The Super Bowl Pittsburgh won in Detroit when the bus. I love that guy. He's just a beast. Just give him the ball and he'd run. The bus. Jerome Bettis, one of my favorite players. Just the bus. Give him the ball and he'd just go. He had like the heart of gold. But him winning the Super Bowl there. Yeah, I that game I remember like yesterday.
For me, one more is I'll go to the Dolphins Redskins Super Bowl that completed the 17-0 perfect season. There was the Garo Yepremian pass in that game that went for a touchdown for the Redskins. But seriously, that was about as close as you'll ever see to a Super Bowl shutout. Just absolute domination by the Dolphins defense. Outside of that play, the Redskins never crossed the 50 the entire game. They got absolutely crushed and completed the 17-0 season. There's the blemish there, the 7 points, but it wasn't on the defense. And, there was another year. And, while in the early years, there was offensive players that won the Super Bowl MVP. There was some defensive players that won it too, and Jake Scott, Super Bowl MVP of that year, and it was fitting because that Dolphin defense was off the chain, and that formula that we see from that 72 Dolphin team is still the same formula that I believe in today. You run the football, you play defense, you're going to win a lot of games, and for me that was just a time that I'll remember, and of course we haven't had a memory like that since as a Dolphin fan. Long time ago, almost 50 years at this point. So that'll wrap it up, though. I thought it was fun. Take a little trip down memory lane. Don't have a ton to talk about these days, but next Saturday we'll have our mock draft, so that gives everybody some time to do it here. Either we can do a mock draft, or we can just go team by team. Maybe we'll do that. We'll go team by team. Who you're going to end up with the first 2 rounds is what we'll do. So, we'll see how many picks teams have in the first 2 rounds, and then we'll see who are some likely candidates to land in those spots, and then we'll talk about if they're good picks or if it's the Dolphins picking up DeAndre Swift, which Rod I know would be really excited about after yesterday's commentary where he called him worse than a Lions running back. Which is Theo Riddick, you're okay in Rod's book. It's like the Lions, they had the best running back, and then it was kind of like they got the curse, where it's like,
oh, God. They haven't had a good running back since Steve Owens.
Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders.
I know, but you know what I mean. He's special. He doesn't count.
We got one. We're good.
Yeah, we'll have to also come up with another topic for like greatest plays of all time, or as well, stuff like that. We'll have to come up with some of these other shows. We're definitely thin on material these days, but we're just going to keep showing up. Yep. And, we'll just keep showing up every day. And, over at Sports Chat Play Some Pick Dogs, continue to do previews and all kinds of stuff. Sim picks. Chris, what's on the card for today?
Today, as of right now, there's 4 games.
So Steve, these are Madden 2K games that they play on a simulated basis, and the rosters are the starting rosters of last year. So, like at the beginning of the season, like so Ben Roethlisberger would be healthy, and
I got you. I understand.
go.
So 1 o'clock, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Atlanta minus 1.5. Over under 57.
Da-na, da-na.
I'm gonna have to go with the Falcons in this one. I really, heading into the season, I kind of thought that the Falcons were going to be a lot better team than what they were. I thought that the Falcons heading into last season, kind of the year before, they had so many injuries. I remember talking about it on the show. They had so many injuries, and it was like this year they were going to be healthy. So I think a healthy Falcons squad beats the Bucks. I like the over 2 interceptions for Jameis Winston, if that's a prop bet there as well. Steve, who you like there?
Yeah, I'll go with Atlanta too. Here.
Rod?
I gotta go. Who's Atlanta playing again?
Bucks. 1.5.
Bucks. Give me the Bucks.
Ugh. Jameis Winston.
That's how you know it's a good video game. Even in a video game, Jameis Winston's a liability throwing the football.
I'm gonna throw 30 interceptions.
And I'll go on the Falcons as well. I don't like Jameis Winston. Video game or reality.
What do we got?
Where do you think he's gonna wind up? All kidding aside, what team do you think would take a flyer on Jameis Winston? Do you have any idea?
I think the Panthers do. I think that any team that's had trouble with backup QBs, anyone that's had like real struggle with their starters staying healthy, why not the Titans?
Maybe.
You got Ryan Tannehill,
Maybe
and
the
Jameis
Eagles?
Winston. The Jets are certainly viable candidates.
Oh, you're right.
If
Silly,
we're talking,
silly me for not thinking of the Jets taking a flyer.
It's like you have two pieces of the puzzle here. It's like whose quarterback gets injured all the time that they really could use the help. So Pittsburgh, right? And then the other one is so Pittsburgh is a good spot for him too, but they don't love the free agent game. If they can probably get him on the cheap, they take him. And then the other one is like whose ego is big enough to think that they could fix this guy when Bruce Arians couldn't, and that's Gase. There's only one guy with an ego.
if we're talking about teams that can't keep a quarterback healthy, what about Philadelphia?
Oh, and there's the ego also. We got Doug Peterson, so
Yeah,
major ego guy.
yeah.
I'd like to see him in Indy behind Phil Rivers. I think that he's a similar quarterback to Phil Rivers. I think he would be a good compliment.
So 4 o'clock, Saints at the Vikings. Vikings minus 1.5. Over under 55.5.
So this would be a rematch of the Diggs game. Is what this would actually be.
The Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah. So I think that the Saints kind of dominated that game most of the way, and the Vikings got him at the end. Man, video games love guys like Kamara, and they love guys like Drew Brees. Man,
I will say this: the Saints have the highest scoring offense in the game. They're not, I think, 92 overall, and a lot of these simulated games have been offensive based.
Yeah.
So I would take the free point with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Saints here too. I just think that like you said, most of these simulated games they seem to be high scoring. You don't get any 14-10. This is Elijah Pitts for 2. You don't get it.
Yeah, no. Give me the Saints money line and over 55.
Steve, Saints Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, the rematch. So I would say the Saints. I'd go with the Saints, especially after what happened with Diggs months before.
7 o'clock, Seahawks at Packers. Seahawks minus 2.5. Over under 56.5, and the game's going to be played in the snow.
Simulated snow.
It's predetermined they're playing it in the snow.
Yeah, I like the Seahawks in this one. I just think that when you look at the Packers on paper, they got nothing. They got Blake Martinez, and I'm going to guess his tackling numbers are really bad.
I'm going to go Seahawks and the under. I think they win. I think it's in the
Money.
40s.
Yeah, Seahawks under for me too.
Packers money line
At home.
at home.
I don't see it.
Seahawks, and not in snow. They don't get snow. They get rain. I see it. I see it with my eyes.
All right. Last game on the board.
Last one, Ravens at Steelers. Ravens minus 4.5, over under 56.5, and there's going to be rain for this one.
I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one. I just think that while the Ravens were really good last year, I don't think Lamar Jackson got a ton of respect coming into the season, and neither did the backfield. I know they had picked up Mark Ingram coming into the season, which I still like that pickup a ton. But I think people just love. Oh, well, the Steelers didn't have Minkah Fitzpatrick, so they had that piss poor secondary too. How many are the Steelers getting?
4.5.
I think it's gonna be closer than that. I think this is a 2-point game. I'll take the points.
Yeah, I like the Steelers plus 4.5 too. It's always this rivalry has always been like a 3-point. Who kicks the field goal at the end wins.
Yep.
Again, I know. I said this. These simulations are offensive based, but I think this one's going to be a lower scoring game. So I'm taking the under. But I mean, you talk about no respect for Lamar Jackson. He's got a 93 speed rating, 94 acceleration, 94 agility, but he's still a 76 overall.
Yeah, because he's passing,
76.
right? His passing's not.
And well, the thing for Baltimore is that Mark Ingram's the highest offensive rated skill player. He's an 86, but all of their best players are on defense. So that's where Baltimore's been doing their damage.
Here, I got two for you. They different bookie started putting some college hoops, doing some college hoop sims. So I got 2 games here for you. We got
college hoop sim.
Virginia at Gonzaga. Gonzaga favored minus 8.5.
Oh, it's a tough one because Virginia will have lost a lot of guys from that national championship team, so they wouldn't be thought of as much. They still have Kihei Clark. They still have some good defense. And the Zags, I mean, pretty loaded. They score a ton of points. These are offensive-based games. I think Gonzaga wins by 10.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you gotta take the Zags there.
And simulated in real life, I think it would be a 4-point game.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, if we're talking simulation, I think Gonzaga wins by double digits.
Yeah, it goes Gonzaga too.
And one more, you got Washington at Louisville. Louisville minus 5.
Louisville all day. I think that Louisville. I think they could have won the national championship this year if Chris Mack somehow didn't make it to the game. They'd have a really good
Yeah, no, Louisville for me too. That's
Louisville.
That's a layup.
Yeah, Washington, they got the win over Baylor early in the season, and then they just disappeared.
Because it's funny because you've got we get what we get in Canada, and then